Here is our Scratch challenge. You can see we have a list of 18 students and we also have a list of their marks. We need to put these lists in order so the students with the highest marks are at the top and in order going down to the lowest mark. This is the Scratch challenge. In this video we're going to complete this challenge using the Insertion sort. The URL, the web address, is in the description and the first comment below. You can see here if you want instructions and an idea how the Insertion sort works, we've also got a video if you want to watch that. We start off creating a list. We're going to call this one Test. We can now enter some values in this list. We're just going to use numbers, and as you might gather by the name, we're going to use it to do some testing. So we put some numbers in just to test the order of the list. And we're going to start off by trying to get the highest number to move up the list. So we can see there's a number 9 and that's in the 4th position of the list. So item number 4, we want to move up to item number 3, then 2, then 1. Basically move up to the top of the list. So we want to replace item 3 with item 4. We want the 9 to move where the 7 is. So we use the replace block. We also need to save that number 7 to move that into the 4th position. So we're going to use my variable and make that equal the 7. So my variable now equals 7. The 9 moves to the position where the 7 is now, and then the item number 4, that position will now equal my variable, which is 7. And we want to do that when the 9 is greater than the 7. So the number in the 4th position is higher than the number in the 3rd position. So we can do the if statement, and we're going to put if item 4 is greater than item 3. Okay, so that's now our if statement, and that moves it up 1 from 4th to 3rd position. Now we want to move it up from 3rd to 2nd position. So we can duplicate our if statement, our blocks, and then all we need to do now is change the number from item 4. We want it to be item 3, item 3 to be item 2, because we're moving from 3 to 2 rather than 4 from 3. So we change all the numbers. It's quite simple. And then if we look at our list, we can see when we run the code, it does what we want. So finally, we want to move the 9 from the 2nd position to the 1st. So let's put our numbers back first of all for our testing. So once we put our numbers, then we can duplicate our blocks again and then change it so we're going from the 2nd item to the 1st. We move the 9 up from position 2 to position 1. So our 9 is going from position 4 to 3, from 3 to 2, and 2 to 1. So let's change those numbers. Okay, and now we check our list and we run our code. The 9 goes to the top. So that is working. That's what we wanted to do. Now, the next stage, we want, instead of using these numbers, we want to use the position. So let's create a variable called position. And now we want to change these 4, 3s, 2s and 1s to position and position minus 1. So we can let's set the variable to 4. We actually want the variable to be position. So let's change that. So set position to 4. So now instead of having item 4, we're going to have item position, which is the same thing. And instead of having item 3, we're going to have position minus 1. So we know the position equals 4, so position minus 1 equals 3. So let's put that. If we can see, we don't need all of these blocks. So let's move these away. And we want to make our position to increase by 1. So instead of, increase by -1, so decrease by 1. So we want to go from 4 to 3 to 2. So now we can fill in our blocks. So we've got position and position -1. So let's change the 4s to positions and the 3s to position -1. Okay. Now in the other blocks we're doing the same things, but the number is 1 less. So you can see here we can duplicate the blocks as we had before, and instead of using numbers we've actually got the position and position -1. Okay, so we've changed position from 4 to 3 to 2, and the blocks still work, they still do the same actions. Now you can see we've got the same blocks repeated, so we could use a repeat loop and use the same code but just repeat it, in this case 3 times. So we can look at the position variable, and we're going to repeat it 3 times rather than 4, so that's position -1, and then we're going to put the code, the blocks that we have, instead of repeating all the blocks together, we can just put the same block inside the repeat loop just once. So you can see now that will run the code the same as before. Okay, well, let's just move the variables so we can see our list, and now we can see our blocks. So we can run it and that does the job. That's fine. Right, now let's think, what can we do to make this happen for all of the list? So we need a loop. We're going to start off at the second position and we're going to the end of the list, the length of the list. So we're starting off at position 2, so it will be the length of the list -1. So we can get our green block to do -1, put the length in -1, and then put that as our condition in the repeat loop. So now we repeat from position 2 to the end. So let's create a new variable from where we're going to start, because we're starting from position 2. So let's set start to equal position 2, because this is where we're comparing from. We're going to compare that to the numbers beforehand, and then it's going to increase to 3, then 4, and whatever the length of the list, this start will increase. So we can increase the start by 1 as we go along. So now we've got our loop, we've got our variable going up, and now all we need to do is put our blocks of code inside. Okay, what about the position? We're going to put the position, we're going to set it to start, and we're going to try start -1. Do you think this is correct? Well, let's try it first of all. So we set position to equal start -1, and then we put our blocks inside. Remember, we're doing testing, and let's test to see if that works. So let's have a look at our list. We want to put numbers in our list and then see if the highest number goes to the top. So let's change the numbers to something that we can see, like with the 9 at the end, and let's see if the 9 goes to the top, for example. So now let's try our code. We can click the green flag, for example. Now let's try it. Oh, it didn't work. Why do you think it didn't work? Well, that's the thing about testing. You can look at different ways and methods and try different things. So let's try making position equal start rather than start -1, because we want it to go to 4 rather than 3, for example, in this list length. So let's change the numbers back and let's test again. Yes, that worked. So now we have working code. Now let's try it with our student list, the original challenge. So we need to create a list called students. So let's create that new list called students. Okay. And what we can do, we can import the list. So we go import a CSV file. It's a bit like Excel, but here we go. And now we have all of our students. We have 18. Actually, we've got a spare 19 for some reason. Don't know why. So we can just delete the 19th item in that list. And now we've got our list of students 18. So what we need to do now, we need to create scores for all of these 18 students. So rather than create a new list called scores, we're just going to use test for now, and we're going to enter in some numbers that we can do the testing with. So let's add, and then we can just add different numbers to this list. Okay, so this will take a little while, so let's speed it up, and we can just add numbers. We've got 18 scores. So you can see once we put all the numbers in that we have a list of 18 students and we have a list of 18 scores. These are just test scores for now, but we want to just test their code. So as you can see, we have our lists. The final thing we need to do, we can order the list, but we also need to order the students. So we can copy the blocks, duplicate the blocks, and instead of moving the items in the test list, we've moved the items in the student list at the same time. So all the scores are ordered and the students get ordered by the order of the scores. The students get ordered by the highest score to lowest score. So the student list gets moved at the same time as the scores. Okay, we seem to have a value gone missing. We can just put something in there. Okay, so now we have our scores and we have our student list. So if we try to run it, we can press the green flag, and here we go. So now we have our scores. You can see the students have moved and the scores are all in order. So this code has worked. We have our ordered list of scores and students. If you want to see how good this algorithm is, you could create a variable and then you can count how many times the loops use this variable. So we can measure how good the algorithm is. We'll put the block in this code so you can start your own code and own testing. So this is where we're going to finish for here, but perhaps you can test your code with the actual scores and find out how good this algorithm is, and maybe even compare it to other ones. Good luck!